What's up guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make Parallx, our label's group style, hard rave techno. You guys have definitely been requesting this one for a while. You guys love when I do the style, I know. So I'm going to be showing you guys a bunch of new techniques and cool stuff in this video. And yeah, as usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available at the top of the description. If you've been enjoying these videos, this is a great way to support me and also get some great samples to work with on your own. And make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, let's get started. So, the first thing that we got going on is the kick. We're at 136 BPM, so it's a little bit faster, but this is what the kick sounds like. So as you can hear, it's just a super aggressive, hard-hitting, hard techno kick like this. Like, this is the style of kick you hear a lot on this label, a lot in this style of techno. And what's happening here is it's actually a little bit more simple than you would think, but also kind of more complex. So, what it is, it's actually just a regular rumble kick. You can hear we just have like a nice, fat, punchy techno kick here, going into this rumble rack. So, we have a dry chain. So that's just the punch of the kick, and then the rumble. So it's just a reverb rumble. So what we're doing is we have this reverb here, 100% wet, shorter decay time, and then you turn the amp on. And that makes it mono, but you can also hear it's really bringing out the low end. And then we just low pass it to get just that rumble. And then to kind of like add a little bit more to it, I have just a compressor which sidechains this to the kick, keeps it really clean so it doesn't get in the way of the kick. And then we also have this EQ8 here, which is cutting at 100 Hz and then boosting the low end a bit. And that just helps to kind of like focus this a little bit more so it's not fighting with the kick so much for space. And then after that rumble rack, we just have a drum bus, which you can see it's on the hard setting, so there's actually a little bit of limiting that's happening, which is a really good way to get your rumble to sound really fat. Like when I was referencing this, the problem I was having is like when you use the reverb rumble, sometimes like I'll put it on the medium setting, you'll see what I'm talking about. It can be hard to get the reverb to really hit right the same way the kick is, but if you put it on this hard setting with that limiting, it evens them out. So this is a really great way to do it. Like the limiting, I wouldn't shy away from that. It's one of the ways that a lot of people use to just make their kicks really fat and really glued together with the rumble. So then after that, what's happening is it's going into the send down here. So the send is doing the rest of it. And we're basically just using this to create like a sort of percussion loop. But it's almost like a percussion loop which is tied to the kick. So what's happening down here is, you can see, the kick is the only thing that's going through this. If you try to put anything else through this, it kind of messes it up. Like, that stab doesn't really work because it's just too sharp. But all this is actually is just kind of like doing another rumble essentially, because we have this delay here which is going into this amp. So it's creating that, and then we're putting this through multiband distortion using Ableton's amp. So what multiband distortion is essentially just distortion which is split into multiple different frequency bands. So as you can see, I have the highs, the mids, and the lows. So what we've got is, you can see, like the lows are just going through a bass amp, and then it's going through an EQ3. The mids are going through this rock amp with a bit of reverb as well. And then, you can see that's just soloing the mids. And then the highs are going through this boost amp. And so, this just really gives you a lot of control, because you can keep the low end with just that bass amp. Like if I put that on one of the harder ones, kind of messes up the low end, but it allows you to keep the low end clean. Keep your mid-range nice and crunchy, but without getting the high end too out of control. Because it's like if we change the high end to that rock amp, it's too much. So this is why we do the multiband, is so we can control each one individually. And then after that, there's just these other effects. So here's without these. and with them. So the first thing is just a little bit of erosion, just to add a bit more crunch to the sound. Then we have a compressor, which side chains this to the kick, and it's just side chaining it to the dry kick, actually, without the rumble. And then finally, I just have this EQ8 here, cutting out some low end, making a bit of room to make sure this isn't going to get in the way of the actual rumble. And that is the kick. That is how you make these style of kicks. And again, like, it's a lot of times you hear this, and there are percussion loops, like as you'll hear and you'll see when I show you the percussion. But it can be easy to think like, oh, that this is being made using like some type of crazy distorted percussion or something. But a lot of times these loops like you hear, where it's just like the kick and this like super distorted rumble loop, it's all just coming off of the kick, and it's just like how you know how to sort of maneuver that. Then we have the stab. So this is a pretty simple techno pattern. This is really similar to like when you hear Parallx use these style of stabs. Yeah, it's just that super like chaotic T99 stab. And what's happening here is it's just playing a really simple melody too. It's only 3 notes. It's just... Technically, you could say this is in C minor, because, you know, that is the lowest note there. And what's happening is this would be the root note, these would be the 9th, and then the minor 3rd. So it's like a really simple pattern, but it just works really well. It's like, you know, you don't want to have too many notes here, just like a few notes. And it just really flows well with the whole beat. It's not trying to throw too much in your face. And yeah, so then that's just going through a bit of echo. You can see we have this 8th note echo. The secret with this one is keeping it really subtle. Like, it's really just in the background. But it is adding something very nice to the stab without taking over the whole sound. Then we just have this drum bus to fatten it up a bit. There's without that. And then with it. And that's it for the stab. Then we have the percussion, which starts with this 909 hi-hat. So yeah, it's just, you know, standard open 909 hi-hat. The key is just to get a big and fat one that also has this nice bright high end to it. You know, it really punches through the mix, and if you get the wrong one, it's gonna be too like ch, and it's not really gonna work. You need a combination of the ch and the tss. And then we have this roll loop, which sounds like this. So you can hear, this is just like a super fast, just... You know, it's very pumping, it's very, like, aggressive. And it adds a lot of energy to the track, just having, like, that... You know, with this style of techno, this is essentially like a shaker loop. Like, this is just adding, like, what a shaker would add. And this is one of those things also that you really just have to use a loop for, because it's like, you can't really get this sound with the little bit of reverb and like the little discrepancies that are happening in each like little sound. Like, you don't really get that unless you're just using a live loop like this. Then I have this drum rack of rolls, which is just these two. And if I play, so I'll play you the roll loop. And then with the roll rack, and it's a bit loud right now, but when you play it in the whole track. So you can hear it's sort of like the roll loop is giving us like the foundation. And then this is just making that a bit punchier by adding some like sharp transients. And then we have the snare, which sounds like this. So the snare's 2 layers. It's the snare that you hear, and then this little bit of noise. And the noise, yeah, so it's just a little bit of white noise with an attack, and it hits every time the snare hits, and it just gives you a little like, you know, it kind of makes the snare feel more interesting because it's like, but yeah, for the snare, what's happening here is it's this sample. It's almost like an 80s sort of like, you know, drum machine snare or like a clap, like the type of thing you would have heard very much in those days. And then we distort it to just make it like really hit hard. And just be super aggressive to go with this music. And like, it's gotta match the kick, you know, like this snare and this hi-hat and the kick. That groove and those three elements together need to just sound really fat. And then the other stuff comes in. And it brings the whole thing together. And then we just have a bit of drum bus on that group of percussion, just to tie it all together. Here's without that. And then with it, so yeah, it just gives everything, you know, a lot of nice fatness, a lot of texture and fullness as well. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available at the top of the description. It's a really great way to support me. If you guys are enjoying these videos, definitely consider going to pick that up. It's just $5. You get all these great samples, and again, it really helps me so I can keep going and keep bringing you guys these new videos every single day and keep teaching you new stuff that isn't already out there on YouTube. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.